Hey fellow crafters, are you a paper hoarder like me? Do you keep every strip of leftover paper because you just know you're going to use it someday? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to take these leftover paper strips to create a playful and colorful card. Are you ready to learn how? Hey everyone, I'm Terry and I'm nuts about stamping. I love sharing techniques and project ideas for card making, scrapbooking, and paper crafting with you each week. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button and the bell beside it so that you're the first to be notified when my next video goes live. Now, let's figure out what to do with all these leftover paper scraps. So here's what you can do with all of these leftover paper strips. Just going to set them aside for a second, and I'm going to bring in a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to use this Whisper White cardstock as a base to apply these strips to. And I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of grid paper because I have a feeling I'm going to get glue all over the place. That's what I do. And I'm also going to bring in my silicone sheet. It's a craft sheet that you can use if glue sort of trickles over. You can just let it dry and rub it off and you're good to go. Whereas if you have glue on paper, it tends to stay sticky for a long period of time. So what you want to do with these paper strips is you want to figure out a pattern, perhaps. So start off by laying your paper strips down on top of your Whisper White. And what I try and do is use different widths of paper when I'm laying this all out so that it doesn't all look the same. That's the beauty of having different widths of your paper strips, is you can apply them in different ways across your Whisper White layer. Let's see, I'll bring in this one now. Okay, I'll just continue laying this out until I'm happy, and then I'll show you the next step. I figured out the pattern of colors and widths that I want to lay across the front of my Whisper White layer. And now it's time to take your multi-purpose liquid glue and adhere each strip down. I'm going to leave my strips on the Whisper White layer just so that it helps me remember the pattern that I created. And I'm only going to apply the glue, or at least hopefully apply the glue, to the section that's going to be adhered down onto the Whisper White layer underneath. So you can see I'm not applying glue all across the strip. That would be a waste of glue and it's not needed. I think the key to this is to try and keep your strips as straight as possible vertically. And you can see that my strips are moving a little bit, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that so much. And what I'll do is I will continue to add glue to the strips and lay them down on the Whisper White layer. And I'll be back in a minute and I'll show you what it looks like when all the strips are adhered down. You can see that my strips are all laid down and they are starting to dry. Well, while they continue to dry, I am going to bring in my Playful Patterns dies and my Tasteful Labels dies to make a greeting for the front of my card. So I have a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock and I have one of the Tasteful Labels dies, and then I've got 3 scraps of cardstock that matches the strips color that I'm going to use for my card. And I've taken 3 of the letters from the Playful Patterns dies, Happy Birthday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my letters down on these scraps, and then I'm going to bring in my die cutting and embossing machine and I'm going to die cut these out. I will do that, and I will come back and show you how to finish off this technique and how to complete the card. I have my label layer ready to go, and I've got my 3 alphabet letters die cut, and I laid them down on the silicone sheet in case there's any sort of drippage. And what I want to do is adhere the H, the B, and the D to the label to represent happy birthday. And then we'll be ready to go back to the strips that are dried and ready for its next step. The next step in this technique is to bring in your paper cutter, and you want to trim off all the overhang of the strips. So you're going to take your layer, you're going to turn it over so that you can see where the whisper white is, and just line it up and cut off all these extra strips. These I can definitely let go of. I'm fine to throw those out. And then do the same on the other side. And look what you end up with. You end up with a beautiful, colorful layer of strips. The next thing I want to do is take a strip of Just Jade ribbon and run it across the front of this colorful strip layer. And to adhere it down, I'm going to use some tear and tape adhesive. And I'm just going to put a piece on that side, a piece on the other side. I'm going to peel off the backing. And then what I'm going to do is just put the ribbon strip, run it across the front, like so. I want to get it so that it's running pretty much halfway through. I'm going to wrap it around like that, and then you can see how it's held fast on the back by using the tear and tape. So that adds, again, another nice visual element for this layer. And then I'm going to attach this layer to a layer of Just Jade. So you can see that everything is starting to become color coordinated. I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue, and then I'm going to lay this down like so. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my Happy Birthday HBD, and I think for this one I might use some Stampin' Dimensionals and pop it up. There we go. There's a nice close-up of how the card is coming along. And then I'm going to adhere the Just Jade layer to a Whisper White layer. So that's the next step. Okay, this is coming together nicely, and you can see that the strips make a colorful background for the front of this card. If you want another paper strip idea, check out this video that I made a few months ago. Now, the card is looking just fine as it is, but I have one further touch I'm going to add, and that is the Woven Threads Sequins Assortment, which has a container full of sequins that perfectly match the colors that I used for the front of this card. So what I'll do is I will use my fine tip glue pen. Here it is here. I will add some sequins to the front of this card. I'll let it dry, and then I will take a photo and I'll place the photo over on my blog so that you can see what the final card looks like. I'll make sure that I link to my blog below in the description box for this video, so that if you're interested in seeing lots of other crafting ideas, you can click on that link and do so. Now, let me show you another card idea using the same technique. I made this card before the video began so that you would see maybe what a softer look could be. So I used the same process completely. I also used my Playful Patterns dies and Tasteful Labels dies. So now you have two different ideas. This one is a bit softer. It might be considered more feminine, not necessarily. And I had my layout this way for the card. And then I have this one, which could be seen maybe as maybe the colors might be a little bit more masculine, although not necessarily so. Leave me a comment underneath this video and tell me which one you like better. Do you like the HBD colors, patterns, and label? Or do you like the hello one? I think it would be fun to see what everybody likes best. If you would like a complete listing of the supplies that I used and the measurements for how to make this card at home, head on over to my blog, www.nutsaboutsstamping.com. While you're on my blog, join my mailing list to get insider tips and ideas to take your card making to the next level. I'm Terry. I am Nuts About Stamping. I hope you'll try this fun paper strip technique today too. Bye for now.